All right, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Fab Unofficial. I know it's been some time. I want to be honest with you guys. I really enjoy Fab, and I really want this channel to be something that's additive to me. I hope what I do put out there, you guys love as well. But it is going to ebb and flow. Life gets busy, life gets crazy. So sometimes you might not get a video week to week, but I'm working on it, and it is something that I intend on being a part of my journey of flesh and blood for much longer. So I wanted to sit down. We just had the world champs, and I wanted to talk about an overview, what we saw happen, how that all played out, and talk about the spiciness that James White and the LSS team gave us at Worlds regarding heavy hitters, which is probably the thing I'm most excited for, to be honest. But yeah, let's dive into it. So we had the world champs, right? I'm not going to dive into the Swiss. It's already been a week. People will talk to it, and there'll be people that will be diving into it that are going to give a much better breakdown than I am. But obviously we got to the top 8, classic constructed. In the lead up to Worlds, all the chat had been around really 3 heroes, I think. And those were Icelander, Dramai, and Bravo. And then there was a smattering of talk about ninjas, and how they sort of had a favored matchup into Dramai, so they could be a bit of a counter for the meta. And that's kind of what we saw play out, despite the results from Melbourne and Dash.io. It's still what I think most people projected for the meta game. And then there was a few absolute lunatics that we saw doing really well with, more rogue decks like a Teklo-Varsen that I believe 3-1 or the initial 4-1 or the initial CC part, and obviously won a round 3 feature match, which was awesome. There was a Bolton that did really, really well. Ethan Van Sant was crushing people with Leviah. So I think overall the metagame for CC at Worlds just was in a really, really good spot, and we saw that play out in the top 8. So in the top 8, we had 5 different heroes. Let me just check my list. Yeah, so we had 2 Icelanders, 2 OG Dash, so Inventor Extraordinaire, 2 Fires, 1 Dromai, which was probably the shocker. People thought Dromai was going to be, coming left, right, and center. And then we had 1 Katsu. So really, really cool. But ultimately, we saw Phi in the hands of Alexandros from Greece take down the event, beating Icelander and Xing Sang in the finals. It was an epic top 8, and I want to, as somebody who was riding the couch at home, I want to give a massive shout out to LSS. I really feel like they stepped up coverage from Melbourne. The calling Melbourne coverage was really, really good, and I actually really appreciated the commentary from a lot of the LSS team. I thought they were really good, and I think that continued through to Worlds. Sure, well, there are a few things, because there's still room for improvement, of course, but overall, I really think I enjoyed the coverage, and despite the time difference, literally, having the event take place in normal sleeping hours, for me over here in New Zealand, it was swift. Being able to replay and watch games the day after it's streamed on YouTube, the level of commentary was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think they did a great job, and the coverage for the top 8 highlighted that. Huge congratulations to Alexandros and Phi taking down the world champs, a check for $100,000, absolutely life-changing. And it's pretty interesting that Icelander won the last World Championships, and now we see Phi, 2 uprising heroes, and I don't think Dromai is going anywhere. So we just said goodbye to Tales of Aria, and it feels like we are in, we're in the world of uprising right now. I think that those 3 heroes we saw come out of that set will continue to be massive mainstays in the metagame going forward. But also shout out to Yuki Lee Bender, absolutely destroyed the Swiss at 13-1 and ultimately fell to the eventual winner in the quarterfinals in what was a really tough match. That match highlights to me the intricacies and the finer details that you need to really nail down to compete at the highest level, right? Yuki had been on an absolute tear and was playing semi-perfectly from what I could see, was just putting on masterclass after masterclass. And then to her own admission, there was a moment in that top 8 game, I'm not good enough to know if it was a misplay or not, but there was a turn where her use of the Channel Lake Frigid and the timing around that, maybe it wasn't great for the way that Alexandra's hand ended up playing out, and ultimately didn't provide the impact and sort of the stopgap that was needed, and he was able to pile on a ton of pressure and ultimately ride that to victory. And I think I've seen some tweets after the fact that had Yuki played that turn a little differently, I think that whole game plays out very differently. But Flesh and Blood is hard, man, and I think Yuki should be absolutely proud of the performance that she put on. So it's really hard to play 100% perfect all the way through a 3-day event at that level with that kind of pressure, and that's not something that I would beat myself up about. But huge shout out to Yuki, because it was actually just awesome to see her do so well, and was really the storyline of Worlds to me. But shout out to everybody else in the top 8 as well. Obviously amazing showing. And Blue Pitch, that team, that quarterfinal game between Xing and Pudding was just laughing, joking. It's what you want to see from a card game. Yes, it's competitive, but ultimately we're all here to have fun. So really, that's all I wanted to say about Worlds. I think the event was great, and I think the metagame feels like it's in a really healthy spot now that Lexi has exited. So bring on Road to National season early 2024. I think it's going to be good, especially with heavy hitters hitting shelves, and that going to be mixing things up. So but the real spice that gets me excited was obviously, I believe it was on the Friday, or the keynote address, whatever this thing is that James does every Pro Tour and Worlds, where he introduced us and gave us a little bit more insight into the heavy hitters set that is coming in January, and boy, did it not disappoint. Maybe one of the most hotly anticipated announcements and hero reveals of all time, massively requested, and James even noted it, but they're giving us an adult Kasai. So Kasai of the Golden Sand, I'm going to pull her up now and make sure I don't butcher her abilities, but for one, the artwork is insane, and I think something about that hero just resonates. I think the warrior class sort of embodies a lot of what Flesh and Blood is, this ideal of like hand-to-hand combat and going back and forth, weapons, so on and so forth. And I think, Kasai's just been a very, very popular hero in Blitz, so it's obviously going to translate over to CC. But little bit of a mix-up and change to her ability, so I'll put it up on screen and read through it really quickly. But Kasai, the Golden Sand, so 4 intellect as per usual, 40 health, adult hero. They have the standard young version also, but reads, if you've drawn a card this turn, your sword attacks cost 1 less to activate. So that is already an incredibly powerful ability, and it's Courage of Bladehold, stamped to the hero. So really, really good. And then once per turn action, banish 2 red and 2 yellow cards from your graveyard. The next time a weapon you control hits a hero this turn, create a gold token. Now, what the hell are we to make of that? I mean, at face value, this is a hero packaged together in a really, really powerful form. That second ability, irrespective of anything else, pairs amazingly well with her first ability. So this hero is already going to be total value, right? Outside of the fact that it's pushing you to play a few more yellows, which people like to steer away from. If you can make a gold, right? Having a gold token is so much value for Kasai, because you get to pitch a blue, crack the gold, draw a card. So you've effectively replaced the card that you pitched to crack the gold token and have a resource floating and remaining. And because of Kasai's first ability, because you've drawn a card now, your sword attacks. So if you're running 2 Centauri Sabers and your plan is to attack with both of them this turn, you're making 2 resource up on that as well. So you've effectively netted 3 resource off her ability, the one that you have floating and the 2 free swings from the sword, and you're down 0 cards except the gold token that you started the turn with. I mean, that is incredible value, and I'm really, really excited to see what we get to do and explore with that. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And they did give us a specialization, which, you know, I don't know what to make of this card, but I think it has some really, really cool implications. So raise an army, Kasai specialization, there's a majestic, and it is a yellow. So interesting that her other specialization is also a yellow, which, you know, can potentially pair with her deck when you're thinking about, okay, well, how the hell what yellows do I play in order to turn on a second ability? But raise an army reads, as an additional cost to play this, destroy X gold you control, create X Centauri Sellsword tokens. So a Centauri Sellsword is a warrior mercenary ally, which attacks for 3 and has 2 health, 2 life, and reads once per turn action, 1 resource, attack, go again. And then Centauri Sellsword can only attack if you've attacked with a weapon this turn. So this card, the ceiling on this card is extremely powerful. The fact that you can make gold at request with her ability, with a little bit of extra work. This is an end game in a bottle, right? It is, in some matchups, if you can raise an army and create 3 or 4 Centauri Sellswords, that is going to be really hard for some decks, like a Guardian, let's say, to deal with. You're going to be able to go massively wide, and you're also demanding resources, cards, and action points from your opponent in order to remove those Centauri Sellswords from the board. And, you know, the fact that they can only attack if you've attacked with a weapon is, you know, whatever. There is tons of ways to give weapons go again in Warrior, so not an issue at all, I personally don't think. The most interesting thing about Raise an Army to me is really all about how you want to use your gold. As I talked about, just cracking gold for value for Kasai's ability is already really good. So how that balances with Raise an Army and wanting to save them up is interesting. And I think that Raise an Army, you're probably always going to want 1 copy in your deck as an endgame that you can play to and pivot to. But I expect this to be something that is more of a in and out sideboard card, but always a part of the 80. And it's going to be really key in specific matchups, and then something that can be a bit more of an afterthought or a crutch to lean on as an endgame in other matchups. But again, we don't know much. We don't know how easy it is to come across gold yet. There have been a few cards spoiled that you can go and check out, but it's really hard to tell until we see the rest of the card pool. But I think they knocked this out of the park, and Kasai was the perfect hero to spoil at Worlds. Just really, really, really cool stuff. Super excited. You know, maybe I will finally be breaking out my Cold War Valiant Dynamo after all. But yeah, we don't know much about Brute and Guardians, but it is interesting to speculate. So yeah, you're looking through the sort of what we've seen so far from heavy hitters, the theme and feel. And I think, like, for me, the Guardian card that I'm looking at are those cold foil extended art Earthlore bounties, the chest piece that helps you make seismic surge tokens. The Guardian on the art for that card looks or resembles pretty closely a Guardian that a lot of people have been, you know, speculating maybe is Volda, on some of the artwork they've already released for the heavy hitters set, and on some of those videos that they've put together. So, you know, the chest slot is heavily competed with Tectonic Plating and Farndale Spring Tunic already, but I think Earthlore Bounty has an outside chance of being something that they're building one of these Guardian heroes around. And then also they spoiled the clash mechanic, which is like reveal the top card of your deck, and the person with the highest attack power on the card does something. So a couple cards that don't see much play, but like Mangle and Righteous Cleansing get a little bit more interesting because of their super high attack value, but obviously we're likely to see more in this upcoming set. And then for Brute, everybody knows the card's already good, but something that I've definitely picked up just in case is the cold foil Scowling Flesh Bags. Personally, I think that might be the best headpiece in the game. I guess, assuming that Crown of Seeds and things like that are now currently unplayable. But 2-block, amazing into matchups like Fire, which just won Worlds. I think, if you don't have one already, I would be picking up the Scowling Flesh Bags. And we've seen them give us adult Kasai. There's been speculation about an adult Volder. What are the chances we see adult KO, and how will they have that work within the gold, copper, silver, money theme? Who knows, but I would be keen to see KO in action, in which case some cold form Mandible Claws probably go a long way. But yeah, super exciting. I think huge shout out and congratulations to LSS. I really think from everything that I saw, everything that I heard, everybody that I know that was able to attend the event, they said that this really was the pinnacle. It's the best event they've been to. All the finer details were there that maybe weren't at the last Worlds. The whole Spanish contingent really went out of their way to roll out the red carpet and help, people just have an amazing time. So, congratulations to everyone involved. And LSS continue to knock it out of the park. I'm super excited for Fab moving forward, and, I cannot wait to dive into some games. In fact, I'm recording this on a Friday, and I've got my brother popping around, and we're going to be jamming some games tonight. I'll be breaking out Viserai, a little bit more of a casual setting. But yeah, I cannot wait to dive into Heavy Hitters when it releases, and congratulations to everybody that put in a performance at Worlds. But until next time.